Good morning, everybody. I got quite a few things to go over today, so let's jump into it. So, before I get into showing off any of the new features with the program, I want to go over real quick just a kind of public service announcement about a bug that is popping up across InputMapper 1.7, and that relates to it not opening up. And I think I've discovered the cause after recently doing a manual update of my Windows to the newest version. Um, well, first of all, I don't know if you guys have read the stories from Microsoft, but Microsoft now decides that anybody that manually checks for Windows updates is considered an insider and want to get the the cumulative updates, the feature updates, the ones that are released seasonal, and it assumes that they want to test those out and get them sooner, so they automatically feed them to those people. It's complete rubbish, but whatever. Microsoft does what Microsoft wants to do. After checking for updates and myself getting that update ahead of time before it's automatically sent to people, I have noticed that InputMapper sometimes does not want to open up. Like the icon will show and then it'll just sit stagnant. And it seems to be tied to the API that handles the audio control for the DualShock 4. It's not related to the DualShock 4 or anything else like that. It's the API that I use to communicate with Windows to determine the volume, which is what makes it so when you slide the Windows volume, it actually changes the volume on your DualShock 4, assuming you're using a DS4 dongle. But those of you that don't use it, it still has the API in place anyways because it has to load it up on startup. Anyways, Microsoft decided to change their audio, pretty much everything about their audio. Anybody that's tried the new operating system has seen that the old audio control panel's gone. They've replaced it. It's got a lot of new quirks. Some things don't work right, all kinds of garbage. But it's somewhere along the way this API that I used has also broken. So I'm on the hunt for a new one because this one hasn't been updated in a couple years. So I'm going to see if there's any out there that are more up to date. So that should fix that problem once I find a up to date API. But in the meantime, force quitting all previous instances of InputMapper and launching it again seems to work okay for me. So, anyways, now that that's over with, let's actually get into some of the fun stuff. Alright, so, sticking with the UI updates that I'm working on, trying to make everything more user-friendly, you're going to see explanations around InputMapper now for whenever, stuff doesn't appear right, like in here. No device is connected. It's going to tell you that if you expected something, maybe you don't have the plug-in, or maybe the device isn't actually paired to the PC yet properly. So just some helpful text like that, just to kind of help new users. Profiles now have context menus where I can right-click these and either delete or duplicate them. When you have no profiles, you get this nice little text message that tells you to create one. And when you decide to create a profile, you now get a wizard. This is actually the base code that I've written for the wizard, has been around now for a few months. I just haven't really gotten around to implementing it to use cases yet. So this will be one of the first implementations. But basically, I haven't gone into too much detail with it yet. Right now, it's just going to ask you for the name of the profile and what kind of device you expect to emulate. And that's about it. So, let's see, other stuff. I have modified the mapping UI to also include the advanced layout. So you can go back to this still, because if you do want to use any kind of connectors, you'll still need access to this advanced view. But those of you that just need basic mapping, this should be all you need. I've also added the 360 view, or the 360 controller view, so that is in there as well. A couple other tweaks around about spacing and all that stuff, as far as some of the settings and all that stuff goes. Just general polish and clean up. Let's see. Let me actually connect the device here. Alright, I am working on this profile selector, trying to clean this up, make this look a little bit prettier. I have made it so that now virtual 360 devices don't show up in this list, causing users to get confused, or possibly even creating a loop if they have 360 profiles set up as well. So now you shouldn't get virtual controllers in here, whether it's from the DualShock 4 or the 360, so that should help clean stuff up. The actual latency and throughput has been greatly improved. I've been going through cleaning up old code. I've upgraded my copy of Visual Studio, which has some nice built-in features that shows you how to clean stuff up a lot better. I've also been kind of streamlining the mappings. I've fixed the it used to be where you couldn't unmap a channel. That's been fixed. Bunch of other stuff. I'm going to be replacing this data rate graph here with a more UI friendly one that I'm actually going to pull, that I've been working on from another project called StatScreen. I got a nice little line graph in there that I'm going to replace this with. But let's see, I think that's about it. Everything else for the most part is still the same. A lot of behind the scenes stuff, but like I said, still making it so it's a lot more accessible to new users. I plan to keep expanding on the profile wizard. I'm going to implement that in other places in the program. Like right now it's here, so if I click new profile here, it'll pop it up. But just kind of add a few more options in here to make sure that the profile is automatically tuned for however the user might want it to be. So just stuff like that. So that's about it. I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to actually test this build out a little bit this morning, try to play some Assassin's Creed or something. And if everything goes smoothly, I will go ahead and push this out as it is now. Even though it still has a couple quirks, it is pretty much in a usable state for other people to really dive into it and test some bugs out. With the data mapping and all that stuff done, the let's see, the mapping, like subclasses, all that stuff done, what I think I'm really going to focus on now is some of like the macro actions. Their UI isn't very clear, like the device tuning, the modifiers, stuff like that. They all build off of like the same type of actions. But some of this stuff isn't very clear, and I'm not just talking about the setting name, but the way it still says axis 1, axis 2, and then offset and stuff like that. I really got to go into it and clean it up. I actually have a way to define a stick now, so you don't have to individually define the axes. So I got to start implementing that. Just a lot of housekeeping for the most part. Alright guys, so that'll about do it. Like I said, keep an eye out. If not already, within the next couple hours, you should see a new version. Alright, have a good one.